While we're on that subject of Joel struggling through the game, there was a quote from the friend of the podcast, Tim Bontemps, on Hoop Collective today over at ESPN, where Tim essentially talked with Joel after the game. There's been a lot of speculation about, what does Joel want? Is he happy here? What's he going to do long term? And essentially said all of that stuff is over following that type of performance from Tyrese Maxey. And I think this has been true for a while, but seeing it on this stage certainly cements it in his mind, a lot of other people's minds. I think the trust that you see from Joel in Tyrese is unlike any other partnership that he's had. I think the belief that Tyrese has built over these take away this series, and I still think Joel has an absolute metric ton of belief in Tyrese Maxey, not just as a player, but as a person, as a leader, as a worker. Like the thing that Joel always brings up when it comes to Tyrese is that he is the hardest worker on the team and has been from the minute that he stepped foot in the NBA and joined this franchise. And I think whatever you want to say about Joel, he's somebody that understands, right? Like he's a guy who picked up basketball as a teenager and turned into one of the best players in the world, irrespective of how he performed last night, which was poorly for most of 4 quarters. He understands what hard work and real work looks like. And he says at every opportunity that Tyrese is a culture-setting leader for this team. He sets examples for every single guy that comes into this gym, whether that's veterans, whether that's rookies, two-way guys, free agents, buyout players, new acquisitions, whatever it is. Tyrese sets the standard as a worker. And I know everybody sees the happy kid. He's so full of joy playing basketball, all this stuff. What you saw in that fourth quarter and the starting minutes of overtime is the competitive fire that kid has to be as good as he can possibly be. I don't know what that means in terms of a ceiling, right? Like every time we try to say Tyrese can't do this or he's capped like this, he fucking shoots past it and becomes a far better player than anybody thought he had any right to be by this stage of his career. And so I think Joel, who consumes as much basketball as anybody in the league, who frankly holds up our post-game media a lot of times, sitting at his locker, watching League Pass, checking in on the game, including last night as we're waiting to talk to Joel in the post-game locker room.
Couldn't talk to Joel until that Cleveland game ended.
Nobody understands Tyrese's trajectory, Tyrese's future, and how good he can probably be as both individually and as a partner than Joel Embiid. And I think those are your two. That's the foundation. You don't have to worry about that anymore. As Derek wrote this morning in his piece, which all you guys should read, that's the hardest thing to do as a franchise, to find the two pillars. This season or this offseason, once this is all done, we're going to have a lot of fun left on whatever this ride is. They have a responsibility to put a third guy or better supporting pieces around those two because they can win a title together if they're healthy. I truly believe that.
This was an interaction we had on our members-only diehard Discord, which somebody brought up. I am not too worried about Embiid asking out because of the friendship with Maxey. And I almost word for word said, it's not the friendship that's key here. It's the fact that he believes in Maxey.
Yes.
And that was before last night.
He has earned that 150%.
And that was before last night's game. And you could see down the stretch, Joel Embiid, I don't think has any real problem conceding offensive possessions down the stretch to Tyrese Maxey. I think he's okay with Maxey running the show if Maxey has it going. And you saw that down the stretch in the fourth quarter, especially after Joel had a couple of really bad turnovers in the post. You saw that down the stretch in overtime. That belief between those two, I think Joel Embiid, as frustrated as maybe some fans are with the way this team continues to not get past the first or second round as of yet, I think Joel Embiid realizes this guy, this player, Tyrese Maxey, is my best chance to compete for a title. If you would sit there in 2K and draw the sliders to create the perfect teammate to play next to Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey is pretty close to what you would come up with. And the same thing is true with Tyrese's case. If you would take slide those sliders over, try to create the perfect player to play next to Tyrese Maxey, it would be pretty damn close to Joel Embiid. There's a lot of deficiencies around them. This is a roster built, like we've said many times, off of minimum contracts and salary trade filler and vet min signings and waiver wire guys. It's not ready to compete yet outside of them, but twice now in this 3-game stretch, I have written in my column afterwards, I believe in that duo more than I ever have, and that they are capable of playing at a championship level if Daryl Morey is able to assemble a championship caliber supporting cast around them. And it's absurd to say that because Tyrese is still only 23 years old. He has arrived quicker than anyone had any right to expect, but that development has a chance to salvage the second half of Joel Embiid's career after a decade of mismanagement, and I'm really excited to see what they're able to do around that core.
On April 16th, we did a show based on Tyrese Maxey going into the postseason, and we titled that "The Leap." Of if this is going
what
to
it
be,
looks like.
This
right
is
here.
what it looks like right here. And while he has had some bumps in the road along this series, of course, the final 47 seconds where he had his hands up, yes, the officials and all of that. But that said, he was a part of it. Now, he did have 35. He hit the shot to give them the lead in that one, but he didn't call a timeout when he dove on the floor. Joel Embiid did last night. How ironic is that? Same end of the floor as well. But then he also had a tough game number 4 where we felt like he should have taken over like he did last night. Maybe the series would be a little bit different. But that said, we discussed it that way. As far as the leap, it's happening right now for Tyrese Maxey.
We all silly like the mayor.